Hey everybody, I'm Neil Ronahan here to talk to you all about Nintendo's E3 2006 presentation. If you want to see us here, if you want to see us and hear us talk about E3 2005, there's probably a video that might be somewhere on the side, maybe below. I don't know. Maybe this is in a playlist. We'll see how that all shakes out. But we have the intentions here of talking about every Nintendo E3 except for maybe 07 and 08 because those didn't really count. But talking about each E3 leading up to E3 2015. So with me to talk about E3 2006 are Justin Berube
What's up, guys?
and John Raridan.
Hey, everybody.
So I guess E3 2006, I remember being amazing. What were your guys' recollections of E3 2006 at the time and kind of just thinking about it now?
I was at E3 2006, so I remember a lot of Wii stuff, and it was a very exciting time. You just went from the GameCube, and even at the event, you could just tell that there was so much more excitement and energy for the Nintendo brand than ever before.
Yeah, especially because this was the infamous E3 where Sony just fucked up. It was a good time for Nintendo to kind of... they owned this E3 by far. It was their E3.
Oh, it totally was.
How about you, John?
I just remember seeing pictures. I think this was the first time I would have come across pictures of the Wii Remote. I was still relatively young when this E3 happened, but I remember coming across pictures of the Wii Remote and being deeply, deeply confused over what the heck was going on with that thing. Because that was, I hadn't seen any video of how it was being used. I just saw a colorful TV remote and was lost.
Yeah, because I remember. I think I would have been. This is going to make Justin feel like he's ancient. I think I was a senior in high school as this E3 was happening. I do recall a lot of people in high school that this was kind of the line in the sand for some of my friends with Nintendo. That I remember the palpable excitement in the previous two E3s about Zelda Twilight Princess, and then a lot of people feeling obliged to buy this system that they didn't really have much interest in to play the Zelda game. And I know a lot of those friends ended up not buying a Wii for several years and just bought Twilight Princess on GameCube. But
Buy it for both.
Yeah, I should have done that. As we were talking about right before the show,
That's what I did.
I have it on Wii still, but I've really been wanting to play it on GameCube. And I didn't buy that at the time, and it's still pretty expensive now. I kind of wish I just bought it in 2006.
Other than the widescreen, GameCube is the better version. I think it did get slightly higher scores. Its average is 0.1 higher.
I'm pretty sure it did. I think it might have been negligible. It might have been Twilight Princess on GameCube has a 96 Metacritic, and on Wii it has a 94. But
that's literally what it is, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play too much of the GameCube version, but I remember preferring the bow aiming on Wii greatly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was good. But let's talk about
controls, though.
Let's talk about this E3 presentation. I think that in general, that the Nintendo E3 presentation was more sizzle than steak. It starts off with Miyamoto coming out. He's well dressed in a nice conductor's outfit, and he takes out the Wii Remote and starts conducting, and the Zelda music plays, and it's Wii music. Yay! That's how they start this one. It's
Yeah,
Then
it is Wii music.
Then he dances in front of an Excite Truck video, and then Red Steel's played. What the fuck?
I didn't understand why. Were they trying to make it look like he was playing? Because obviously there were other people playing the games. He was
I don't
still
know.
Sort of there.
What was the
Maybe he
direction
just
for
refused
that?
to leave the stage.
Yeah, where they're Miyamoto leave, and he's just don't care.
He was just having some fun, guys.
Yeah.
Just
he's whimsical. He's the whimsical toy maker, lest we all forget.
Yeah, the thing about Wii Music that confuses me in retrospect is that they showed it at this E3, and yet it got delayed several years.
Yeah, and I feel like if Wii Music came out in 2007, people probably wouldn't hate it as much.
It didn't look like it was a whole lot less developed in this than it was when it actually came out. I don't know what they spent all that time doing, but...
What was it? I forget. Wasn't there another Wii thing that never really came out? I know that there was Wii Health Pack that became Wii Fit or something.
So the heart tracker thingy or whatever that was?
Vitality sensor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was E3 2009. Don't worry,
Yeah,
I went to
yeah.
that E3. We're gonna talk about some vitality sensor.
Yeah, but they had a bunch of. I don't know if it's in any of these sizzle reels or anything in the press conference, but they had all those demo games that became like Wii Play and
Yeah,
whatnot. So
like the ping pong was in this. I think there was a tech demo that looking at well we were playing at GameCube at the time, but Nintendo World Reports coverage from this E3. There was apparently an obstacle course demo which appears to resemble what would later be. I know it was in at least Wii Fit Plus. It might have been in the first Wii Fit as well, which is like the obstacle course that you could run through and stuff.
There's also there's a shot of a plane going over like an early Woohoo Island that looked
That's
like a
what the one
Wii
is. It's like
resort.
Wii Flight
yeah,
or something
Yeah.
that really
Yeah,
show up for a long time.
yeah.
But yeah, so the rest of this opening of this press conference, then after Miyamoto finishes his dance routine, Reggie Fils-Aimé takes the stage, talks bold things about the Wii, really driving home the kind of brands and phrases they wanted to drill into our heads the previous 2 years. Once again, as we talked about in the E3 2005 video, this was like Nintendo's third act of their build-up to unleashing the Wii on everyone's faces, and it was very, very effective. People were really stoked right now. Some of the things that Reggie said was that playing is no longer just about the looks, it's about the feel. And it's not about what we see, because what you see is not always what you get. Still with the not-so-subtle digs at the competition.
yeah. With the competition at that time, weren't they showing like a lot of pre-rendered stuff and like
Yep.
doctoring
Yep.
their screenshots up? So
Yep. And then the mantra for Nintendo throughout this entire show was playing is believing, kind of just driving home that, like, hey, this Wii stuff, like, you think you might get it, but you need to play it in order to totally understand it. And they showed that off by a lot of the videos that they then showed of gameplay were a lot of lifestyle videos, which were really a huge part of the Wii, especially early on, where it's not just, oh, look, there's the avatars on screen, there's the maze. No, it's, grandma and grandpa like back there with the Wii remotes going like, yeah, or like, some dude with two Wii remotes drumming, because that was a thing that was a part of this.
don't
All
forget
kind of goofy, and like the lifestyle stuff even extended to, Mario Galaxy, which was shown off for, I believe, the first time ever in this E3.
Yep.
You also had Metroid Prime 3.
diving behind the couch.
Zelda Twilight Princess. Yeah, the guy hiding behind the couch in Metroid Prime 3. And
I
like
tried it.
leaping
It
out.
doesn't help.
Yeah, which I'm just like, it would probably, like, the game would just turn off and be like, we can't see your Wii remote, the sensor bar, there's interference, maybe? Like, maybe take a break. But, yeah, I mean, that was a big part of the early parts of this presentation, was it's just lifestyle footage of the Wii. And then Reggie talked more specifically about, how 2 years ago they had the DS, then last year they had Nintendogs, then at TGS the prior year they unveiled the Wii remote, and now they're unveiling the Wii name, which was revealed about 2 weeks before this. There is a delicious quote from Reggie in which he said about the name, "First off, we want to thank those of you who wrote good things about it the day you heard it. Both of you." Which, I mean, yeah, everybody hated the name. I hated the name when it was first announced. I thought it was dumb. I'm sure you guys were probably in the same boat.
Yeah, going from a great name like I know Revolution was just a code name, but everyone had just kind of accepted that as the name of the console. So going from Revolution to Wii was kind of a jolt.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I got a lot of text messages when they announced the name, and they're like, "What
Very
are they
concerned.
thinking?"
Then we got to the games, and one of the big games that was on display was Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Now, Justin, you were at this show. What do you remember of that demo of Metroid Prime 3?
I remember more like getting used to the controls than anything in the actual demo, and I'm like, this could actually work. I mean, it was kind of like weird to adjust because it was a whole new concept. So it wasn't like I would be now if I picked it up and like, oh, I understand how this works. So you kind of have to get used to that whole like pointing at the right spot on the TV. But once you got the hang of it, I remember aiming wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, they did have the other big first-person shooter which got a substantial amount of time at the C3 and actually doesn't look that bad, even in retrospect. Red Steel from Ubisoft, which was the same kind of first-person shooter with the Wii Remote and the nunchuck, a new way of playing, and I don't know how much of it was a new way of playing. And the final product wasn't that great.
I like it.
I mean, I don't think the original Red Steel is horrible. I just don't think it's very good. Like, it's not the abomination that everyone says it is.
It's really hard to go back to it now. Like, I remember I got it, I got it with my Wii when I got it, and I loved the crap out of it. The fact that I could rotate my gun by turning the Wii remote, oh man, it was amazing. But yeah, trying to go back to it now, it is not a good time.
I played the final product, and I remember having a hard time turning in that game.
Yeah, there were like a lot of little issues, but I do remember that. Everyone say hi to my cat, who's now in frame. Ass out of my way, cat. But I mean, I like Red Steel doesn't look that bad in this video. I kind of stand by that. Like, it looked promising until we actually played it, and then there were still things about turning the Wii remote on its side and being like, oh, have it sideways, let's go. Like, that was pretty fun. But other than that, yeah. There were some other games there. Dragon Ball fighting game that I actually played a lot at launch, and I thought that game was enjoyable. Dragon Quest Swords was there. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, a SpongeBob game. Jesus Christ, cat.
I don't remember that game.
SD Gundam G-Breaker, Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam.
Game was terrible.
Necronesia. Elebits, which I thought was a pretty fun third-party Wii game. That came out, I think, like 2 months into the system's launch. Rayman Raving Rabbids was there. Super Swing Golf. Sonic Wildfire, which would later become Sonic and the Secret Rings. And then Final Furlong Revolution, which was, I guess, the arcade game coming to Wii, but that never came out. It got canceled. And another game that got canceled was Project H.A.M.M.E.R. Now, Justin, please tell me you played this demo.
It was I think it might have been the second Wii game I played. Was Project H.A.M.M.E.R.
Do you remember was there a tangible excitement for Project H.A.M.M.E.R. going into E3, being there?
I think so, because during the press conference they kind of were like, hey, we got new IPs. People say we don't have enough new IPs. We got new IPs, and I remember Disaster and this were the biggest ones I remember them pushing.
And then Excite Truck was the third of that trio of new games, but Excite Truck seemed to be at this time was a joke.
Yeah, Excite Truck still was part of the Excite series, I guess, so it kind of had less of a new feel to it because it was still borrowing from the Excite Bike name.
And I think it was also that I think the first glance at Excite Truck is that it's just oh, you got big rigs and it's super dumb. Then you actually play that game, you find out it's real good. But I can totally, I think I was, up until launch, I wasn't planning on getting Excite Truck, and then I played a demo of Excite Truck and was like, I need to get this right away.
Yeah, it felt like a very arcadey experience at E3, and that's what it ended up being. But I want to go back to Project H.A.M.M.E.R. for a second.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, so I remember getting my chance, stepping up to the game. I watched a couple of my friends try it before me, and at that time we didn't really understand how the waggle worked on the Wii. In the lifestyle videos, they made it all look like 1-to-1. This is what you do is what happens in the game. They were very good at making you feel that before you actually got used to what it was actually doing. So I'm up there, Project H.A.M.M.E.R. I'm I'm gonna get into this, and I just start doing huge overhead swings.
You punch some dude in the face.
And people are backing away from me, and I'm come on, yeah, going nuts, enjoying this game. People are just laughing. I'm swinging that hammer around, and it did feel good to smash stuff with that hammer, I will say.
That's one of the bigger mysteries, especially this era, is what the hell happened with this game. I mean, NST in general, outside of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, it seems like they almost can't put a game out.
Yeah, didn't they come out with Aura Climber on DS?
Yeah, that was fun. That was a real fun game.
I didn't really enjoy it. I'm really sad with what happened to NST because they used to come out with Wave Race and whatnot, and now it's just.
And I think that there's a former Sega guy, might even be Sonic Team, is heading them up now. I've done minor research for a future episode of Know Your Developers, so
you're on top of things, NST.
But yeah, I mean, NST they had just had Metroid Prime Hunters, but that went through a lot of trouble, And maybe it was just like, hey, you guys can just kind of do back-end stuff and crank out a Mario versus Donkey Kong every now and then.
Yeah, which I would love to see a new Metroid Prime Hunters, just for the online multiplayer.
Yeah.
No,
that'd be cool.
Single player, but I thought it was, even though it wasn't a very good Metroid game, I had fun online with that game, so...
Yeah, and kind
It
of...
wasn't a great Metroid game, but it was still a decent game. I liked it.
I only ever played the first Hunt demo, but that's probably a discussion for another time.
Well, if Nintendo's watching, give NST a chance. Come on.
But NST did unveil another game at this E3. It was Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis, which was the first Minis game to come out. And then over the next 10 years, I believe, 53 different Minis-related games came out.
Roughly.
Or maybe 5, so might not be as high.
Too many.
The other game from that trifecta, we had Excite Truck, which the quote from Reggie was about how you can ride some big damn trucks. But Reggie's always got to kind of push that PG-13 level. He doesn't do it anymore, but back then he was edgy.
On that subject of Excite Trucks, it's a little off topic, but I always thought it was funny. Like within at Wii's first year, there was like a Wendy's Happy Meal toy with different Wii stuff, and one of the toys is an Excite Truck, and I'm like, who's gonna understand how this connects with Wii?
I mean, I think there was a push to make Excite Truck bigger, and I don't think it really worked out too well. Hence why they just released Excite Bots and farted it out a couple of years after the system debuted.
It's a better game.
Yeah, much better game. I love Excite Bots. I will fight you if
me
you don't
too.
think
It's so
Excite
much
Bots
fun.
is a good game. So John, you better think that Excite Bots is a good game.
Sure.
So Excite Truck was a big part of this E3, as was Disaster Day of Crisis, which was there a demo for that on the show floor as well, Justin?
No.
Okay.
No demo for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean the video was just you were fighting natural disasters, which is what the game turned out to be. That's a real dumb game. If you have access to a Japanese or a European Wii, or you want to do something not right to your Wii in North America, try and play Disaster Day of Crisis. The Japanese and the European versions both have English language, and it is one of the dumbest games I've ever played.
I've never played it. I've always really wanted to.
It's kind of like when you play through that game, you can't get mad at Nintendo of America for not releasing that game, because it's that dumb.
I thought that was part of the appeal.
Yeah, and even better is if you play Disaster Day of Crisis and then think, these guys made Xenoblade after this.
Right?
Then your mind will explode because it doesn't make sense. How do you go? It's like, yeah, we farted, and then the next time we went to the bathroom, out came the best RPG of the past decade.
These things happen.
It's weird. It must have been a really bad time in the bathroom. They're there for 2 years. I don't know, man. My shit's been developing this game for a long time. But that was most of the big games on Wii. Following what happened chronologically in this presentation, then Nate Bildorf and Bill Trinan from Treehouse came out to demo The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on Wii for the first time. And it was kind of weird because the HUD looked way different in this demo than it came out in the full game. I don't know what you remember from the demo this year, Justin, but do you remember it being anything way different from the final product?
Not really. I think I remember there was a boss fight, I think against a spider or something like that.
Yeah, they teased that in the presentation.
Yeah, I remember something about that, and yeah, I remember getting used to the controls took a second because this is I think this is the first game where I actually used Waggle and kind of started to grasp it.
Yeah.
Because before then, like I said, I played Project Hammer.
Did it use in the demo they were showing? It looked like you were using the B button to attack, and it wasn't mirrored, so it looked like the Wii remote was mapped to the shield.
Maybe that's how it works. I really don't remember too well, so if my memory's a little off on that, I apologize.
Justin.
Yeah, because
When do you think we have
was
it?
still
Sorry.
Link is still left-handed in the demo they showed.
Yeah.
Let me just put this out there. Just trying to get to these games was a huge challenge in itself.
Yeah. So I mean, and I guess this might be a little lost on some people, but well, this would have been the last of the big E3s, and
Oh,
as
it was
far as I know,
huge.
with Nintendo's booth, is that it was closed off, and you had to wait on a line to get in to play the Wii games,
It was
and
just the Wii that was
that this
closed
Wii
off.
line was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, you could probably still look up videos online when they open the doors. Like, there's just like a huge rush to get in that Wii
Yeah,
line, and people who are like, I guess, working for other booths would already be in that line when you got there. And I remember, like, if you go back and look at some of those videos, you can actually see me running and like ducking underneath someone's arm that was just standing there and like getting there because even when I ran, it still took me like 2 hours to get into that mini booth thing,
yeah,
and it was very poorly set up. So there's a huge line. I think the line went for like 6 hours long to get in there. And once you got in the booth, you were like funneled through this area, and to get to the actual Wii games, there was like this very horribly designed corner where like maybe one person can fit by to get around it, and most people were tripping through it and whatnot. And then once you got in, you had to wait in line even longer to like try these games. So I think I waited for like 40, 45 minutes just to play Mario Galaxy.
yeah. And I mean, I remember the. I mean, there were similar times like this throughout Nintendo's E3 history after this. Like the E3 2010 with the 3DS was pretty jam packed.
Yeah.
E3 2011 when the first showing of the Wii U had a hell of a line, and I
Yeah.
think probably the most damning thing, which at the time I should have realized, like, oh, the Wii U's in trouble, is that the way their booth was set up in E3 2012 before the Wii U came out, it was very clearly set up to be prepared for this kind of onslaught, like they had for the Wii, like they had for the 3DS, like they had for the Wii U the year before. But I remember there was a mad rush through the booth when the show floor opened, and then it dissipated. And like, okay, you might have to wait a few people to like play Pikmin or Nintendo Land games, but it was not mobbed ever.
Yeah,
That
it started
entire
out.
show.
They were expecting it first, and they had like it roped off and whatnot.
Yep.
And then after like a couple hours, they're like, "I guess we don't need this," and just kind of quietly got rid of it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I went in there with Aaron from NWR, and we just walked up and started playing all the Nintendo Land games. We went from like kiosk to kiosk playing each Nintendo Land demo that we played, and then after that we saw TYP and Patrick Barnett waiting on a line, and they're like, "How did you guys get in?" And I'm like, "We just walked in." And then TYP and Patrick realized that they were on a line for nothing, and then just walked in.
Well, Nintendo got you so used to those lines,
Yeah.
which
Um,
are really bad.
Yeah. But so going off to what then at the end of that they confirmed that Twilight Princess was coming out to GameCube and Wii on the same day in North America, which didn't actually happen because the GameCube version came out a couple weeks after launch
Yep.
in North America.
Can I talk about the delay for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, I remember they delayed it, I think, in August of 2005. So
Yeah.
it was like only a few months before people were expecting it. And I really don't know how much heads up Nintendo of America had on this because if you remember Camp Hyrule that year, it was all based around like Twilight Princess, I think.
Yeah, the Twilight Realm. I think that might have been the year that I was actually somewhat involved with Camp Hyrule.
Yeah, and then like during Camp Hyrule, they're like, it's delayed, and then it just looked horrible because like everything was Twilight Princess themed, and you're like, oh
There
my.
wasn't a lot. Okay, you had the Wi-Fi connection stuff on DS, but there wasn't a whole hell of a lot else for Nintendo that time.
Yep. Mario Kart and Animal Crossing that year.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, especially on GameCube, like it's like we're looking at now to a degree with Wii U.
so I really wonder if that game was basically done in 2005, and they just worked on a Wii port for
That
a year.
that could have been it. Like, I mean, that's definitely not it for Zelda on Wii U. Like, I think that game needs another year.
Yeah, but I
Like,
really feel like
it's getting delayed for a reason. Whereas Twilight Princess, I think, was way closer to being done than people might assume.
yeah, I think they just like worked on the Wii port in that
Yeah.
year. That's I don't have any confirmation on that, but honestly, that's how it really felt in the end.
Yep. So some of the other third-party games that were shown off at this was Sonic Wildfire, which would be Sonic and the Secret Rings. I thought that game was pretty fun. Just throwing that out there. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles: The Crystal Bearers, which wouldn't come out for another 3 years. and was just a weird game. But I guess that might be worth talking for E3 2009, literally 3 years after this, because it still wasn't out there. Madden was apparently very well received on Wii. It was fun seeing Reggie in this try to use football terminology. He said like yards after the catch, I think, which was kind of amusing. And then they had their big focus on Red Steel, and then we got to the DS, which was the only time that a system other than Wii was really talked about. And as usual with the least important thing of the event, George Harrison came out to talk about it, not the Beatle, the guy who worked at Nintendo during this time. And the DS Lite was like a week away from coming out, so it was New Super Mario Brothers on DS. So it was kind of, I mean, like the most exciting DS game for the year was kind of a week away. I think I remember hearing about this, that our Michael T.Y.P. Cole from NWR, he at E3 this year, he had the review copy for New Super Mario Brothers DS. So they had demos for it, and people on our site would just be playing his copy because he had it.
Yeah, I didn't really care to play it too much because I knew it was coming out like when I get back from E3, but I still waited in line because they were giving out like, I think like some sort of like carrying case or something just for trying it. So it's kind of like, yeah, come see it now and you'll get something. So it's like, I might as well. And I think that was like the general feel from almost everybody there. It's like, we're excited, but we have more important things to check out today.
Cat, come on. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue. The only funny thing about that is that they really emphasize that you are Pokemon in this game. Like, you don't control them, you are Pokemon. Which was, I guess, funny. I don't like that game.
I hate it.
Yeah. Yoshi's Island 2 was at the show, aka Yoshi's Island DS.
Now, when that was there, I will say it did feel like, holy crap, we're finally getting a new Yoshi's Island game. And since you only played like a short demo of it, you didn't really see it. Kind of fell short, but
yeah,
I left that demo feeling a lot more excited than you probably.
I
would
remember
think
reading impressions of people playing that demo and being really excited that it came out, and I was not excited.
Exactly. Just the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah. Star Fox DS was there. That was Star Fox Command. That would come out, I think, in August of 2006. Diddy Kong Racing was another big game, which is kind of interesting now. Kind of thinking about, with the rumors of that Diddy Kong Racing 2, and even seeing what the remnants of Rare are doing with Yooka-Laylee and all that jazz, that there was a time not too long ago where Rare was still kind of working with Nintendo, albeit through THQ. I think THQ was what they quote-unquote developed this game through, I think.
Do either of you guys have Diddy Kong Racing on DS?
I had it and then sold it.
Okay. Did
play
you notice? I was playing it the other day actually, and I noticed that they changed the voice of the genie to make him less racist, which I found hilarious.
I mean, there's a lot of things about those Rare games that are just a little bit offensive, and they all kind of culminated in Conker's Bad Fur Day, where it's just really, really offensive.
There's a lot in Donkey Kong 64 going back to that one. That game is.
I don't think I ever want to go back to that game.
I might. I mean, it's on the Wii U, just staring at me.
That's literally, I bought it.
You're
just
gonna regret it, Neil.
Yeah.
Go back to it, and then you can write a nice editorial on the site.
Yeah. Cat, what the fuck are you doing? Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam on DS, which was confirmed to use voice chat on the DS in 2006. Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam. Splatoon? No voice chat.
Now,
but Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam had voice chat.
Now, how does that game use it? Is it like while you're playing the game?
You can talk to people while you're playing the game.
Can you talk to strangers, or does it have to be friends?
No, I doubt it. Are you serious?
No, I'm not sure.
I'd be in shock if the DS let you talk to strangers.
But
I really doubt that.
Metroid Prime Hunters had voice chat, right?
Yeah,
but it had to be with people on your friends list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was the same way with Downhill.
Yeah, I think it had
to
be friendsless people.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass was at this. This wouldn't come out, I think, until early 2007. But it was playable there, I believe, for the first time.
Yeah, I did play it, and I remember walking away from that demo like, I think this is okay, but it would be better without touchscreen controls. And I remember giving Nintendo rests my input. I'm like, you know, please get rid of the touchscreen controls. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
They don't serve that game at all. They're pointless.
I liked them in Spirit Tracks, but yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Phantom Hourglass. The other DS games to kind of round this out, we had Mario Hoops 3-on-3, Big Brain Academy, Mario vs. Donkey Kong March of the Minis, and Elite Beat Agents, which, I mean, I think people were already into a Wendin before this, but I know that Elite Beat Agents kind of took the press by storm, especially our PGC folks at the show. Do you remember being wowed by it at E3, Justin?
No, that game I really don't.
Did you like it when it came out?
It was okay. I mean, more of a
Do you
Rhythm
have a
Heaven.
soul?
I'm more of a Rhythm Heaven fan. I'm sorry. I like those. I like Rhythm Heaven a lot more than Elite Beat Agents. I played through it, but I didn't. Even after playing it, I don't understand people's obsession with that game.
It's just really fun.
I'm like, Rhythm Heaven's way better than this game, and I know most people probably don't agree with me, but
I think that Rhythm Heaven not on DS is way better. Or not way better, but maybe just as good. I didn't like the tapping stuff with Rhythm Heaven. I didn't think it really suited that style of game too well.
yeah, looking back on it, it probably doesn't. But that was like the first Rhythm Heaven I played.
Yeah.
So
It was fun. It was
this is
charming.
awesome.
And then I played the Wii one, and I was like, oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah, and to go back to Big Brain Academy, and I think Brain Age was also there. They had like,
Brain Age had come out just before this.
yeah, but I think it was still featured
Probably.
at
I
Nintendo's
mean, it was
booth. And
huge.
they had like a whole Touch Generations section,
Yeah.
so they had both those games on display, if I remember correctly. So they kind of like were pushing that hard then.
And then to wrap up this E3, Iwata came out and all ready to talk about Wii, and kind of said the mission statement about the system, which was that they were looking for those who have lost interest and those who have never played games before. Which, I mean, they kind of succeeded in doing that throughout the Wii's lifespan. And I mean, I think the sad thing is that they haven't really been able to keep it up too well, and the mobile market, to an extent, has kind of taken what they started and ran with it. And he kind of talked about how, you know, the DS was disruptive and people didn't totally get it right away, but then it eventually clicked. The Wii, it didn't take people long at all, but I would imagine that line of thinking might have been why Nintendo kind of stuck with the Wii U according to plan for a while before they kind of drastically restructured it. I have a feeling that Iwata cited the DS and cited the Wii in, you know, talking to shareholders and stuff, and I think there are quotes to back that up from Q&As. But yeah, what do you guys have to say about Iwata talking about the Wii and its origins and goals?
I think it was very ambitious, and at the time, it was kind of hard to fully grasp that they'd accomplished what they were aiming to do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people after the GameCube were like writing them off a bit. So to have Nintendo try a radically different approach and succeed was refreshing and a lot of fun.
I think it is pretty incredible to look back and hear like Iwata and Reggie saying, you know, we're going to take people who, or like Reggie had that comment about, you know, everybody's seen a movie, everybody's watched TV, everybody's read a book, but there are plenty of people who haven't played a game, and him saying that we're going to change that with Wii, and it's impressive. They pretty much did that.
They did.
And that's, yeah, I mean, it's you would have never believed that at the time, but looking back on it now, it's like, yep, they totally did that.
Yeah, I think being at that show and you saw the excitement around the Wii, it was like it clicked for so many people at that event, and I was watching it, and I'm like, holy crap, like Nintendo is coming back on top, because the Wii line was like 6 hours. I remember like the PS3 line was like 20 minutes. And just like seeing that, like, and the booths are right next to each other traditionally at E3, just seeing that was just like shocking. You're like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. This is awesome. Awesome time to be a Nintendo fan.
And how quickly that ended. I mean, it took a couple of years, but now we're kind of back where the Nintendo booths aren't as packed as they used to be. Although last year, E3 2014 was kind of the beginning of a return to form. One other interesting thing that I thought with Iwata talking about the Wii is that he kind of said that the impetus for the Virtual Console was aimed at bringing lapsed gamers back, which I thought was pretty interesting, especially in light of how Virtual Console has been kind of deprioritized with Nintendo outside of like events. And it seems like at first they kind of probably poured a lot of resources into that, thinking that that was another way that they could bring people in. And then maybe what happened, and this is me more spitballing than anything else, is that they realized that over time that wasn't necessarily what was bringing people to the table as much. Which is kind of weird and interesting, at least anecdotally for me, is that a lot of people that I talk to, whether they're my age or a little older, that they talk about how they want to find all these old games, and a lot of them, they're going through like, all right, I'm gonna get the old NES, Super Nintendo, go to some thrift stores, garage sales, try to find old games, and it's like, hey, most of those games you want to play, like if you've got a Wii or a Wii U, you can play all of them. And I don't think a lot of people, I think outside of us, people don't really know that. But maybe the proof is in the pudding, and maybe that those people weren't as I guess profitable, weren't as into it as the complete newcomers, which Nintendo kind of focused on for longer.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Virtual Console thing, I've talked about this before on Twitter and with you guys, but I think Nintendo's really putting it on the back burner and just waiting to start fresh on NX, because even if they work their ass off and get a ton of Virtual Console games on 3DS and Wii U, the architecture is going to be different for their next platform, and they're just going to have to start over again, and it's going to be that triple from the beginning again. So, do you want Nintendo? Yeah, you want the games, but it doesn't make financial sense for Nintendo to pour all the resources into these games that are going to have such a short shelf life. And I guess the whole idea of the Virtual Console is to get these games out there for an extended period of time, so people can keep buying them when they feel like it.
What's crazy is like the Virtual Console and the fact that the Wii U can play all of these old games, including like DS and Game Boy Advance games, is actually like when I'm trying to sell someone a Wii U, like that. I mean, that's what I do for a living. When I'm trying to sell people them, generally the thing that pushes them over the edge.
He's not doing it on the website. He works at a retail store. Just
right. Not that.
We're not working for Nintendo. We're not working for the man. No.
Yeah, but I mean, most of these people are pushed over the edge by you saying, yeah, it plays all of those old games. It plays your Wii games. It plays your NES, Super Nintendo, N64, DS, Game Boy Advance. People they didn't know it could do that, and most of them didn't. Like Neil said, they didn't know the Wii could do that either. So I mean, maybe Nintendo definitely isn't prioritizing it, but I think if they would prioritize it and also advertise it, I think it would have more effect on people than they necessarily realize.
Yeah, because I mean, especially when you look at that Super Nintendo resale market is ridiculous now. Like, it's absurd.
NES
GameStop has started selling.
NES games are going through the roof as well. Like, there is a market there for that, and maybe, I mean, we'll see what they do in the future. Maybe they're going to capitalize on that more, but they really. They should do a better job at it.
I think another problem, to keep it on topic with 2006, is the Wii Shop channel wasn't the best design thing, and that probably...
Oh, it's crap design. Better than the DSi Shop. That's for damn sure. But I think like 20 minutes. People. What?
I couldn't hear what you said. You got cut off for a second.
Okay, the DSi Shop was way worse than the Wii Shop.
Without a doubt. It took forever to load, and to click through the menus, it just took way too much time. It was painful to get through. You had to like fight to spend your money on that shop.
Shut up and take my money.
Spent a lot of money on the DSi Shop. That was like I had too much. I have too many DSiWare games.
There's some hidden gems on that.
That is very true. Like Photo Dojo. I like that.
Yeah,
not just because I'm the ultimate Photo Dojo champion.
Why isn't that trophy back there next to the Hylian?
That'll be for next week. The last thing was Wii Connect 24, which probably the less said about that, the better. Although, from hearing what Iwata was saying about it, it basically was realized to better effect with Spot Pass. They just gave it a different name, but it's essentially the same thing. And that's
I think I was very excited for Wii Connect 24, and it didn't really pan out too much.
Yeah.
And there's one more thing about this E3 I don't think you remember.
Well, I might be. Like, give me a little time, because I got some more notes here.
Okay.
But that was their E3 presentation. This was
Mhm.
also the E3 that there was a special Smash Brothers press conference, or I think it was one of those roundtables post-show.
Actually, it was very. I wasn't there, but I had a friend who was there. It was very strange. The show closed the first day,
Yes.
and they shoved everybody off their show floor. Like this is in the Nintendo booth, and only let select media people, I guess, in
And
their
yeah,
booth. And then they had it displayed on a large screen or something like that. The trailer for Brawl.
yeah. And they revealed at this event Meta Knight, Zero Suit Samus, Wario, Pit, and then the big surprise reveal was Solid Snake.
Yep.
Which, I mean, that was I have some notes for the Planet GameCube's E3 2006 awards, and that was the best surprise. One of the most disappointing things was that there was no playable Smash Brothers. I mean, it was still 2 years away at the time, but
Yeah, I mean, I really thought I'd be playing Smash Brothers that year. So
yeah.
that was one of the biggest disappointments, and I still don't understand why they didn't just show Smash Brothers during their press conference when
I
everybody was
think it was
watching.
way earlier in development than you might think.
Well, I mean, they showed that trailer during the press conference, and they didn't.
Yeah, that is true. But maybe it's because they wanted to kind of have. I mean, I don't. I'm not as well attuned with Nintendo at this time, but I know that Nintendo now doing that would be so they could kind of spread out the conversation about them, keep it active throughout the entire show as opposed to just having it all focused in one press conference.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a weird way to show that trailer off
Yeah.
because not to get that. I remember, I think Nintendo handed out like discs with the trailer on it to the
Weird.
people there, and then it was just a rush to see who could upload it to their site first. That's my understanding of it anyway. So it was like people talking about it on all these websites, like we saw the trailer, all these characters are in it, and then like nobody saw it for like another like 45 minutes. Because you know how the internet is in
Yep.
LA.
It's not great. So some of the other things, at least from the awards, I'll kind of go over them quickly. Best Wii graphics was Galaxy, with Prime 3 as a runner-up. Best DS graphics, we didn't really talk about this game at all. Final Fantasy 3. I played that a little bit. I didn't really care for it much. The runner-up for that was Star Fox DS. This is what I love, how stupid genres are. The best adventure game was Prime 3, with the runner-up Zelda. The best action game was Galaxy. How genres are weird.
Well, Super Mario Brothers on the NES, that's part of the action series, right?
The best puzzle/rhythm game was Elite Beat Agents because the people on the site had a soul, Justin. Best sports game. This was kind of surprising. The PGC staff they awarded Madden NFL 07 as the best sports game at E3 2006, not Wii Sports or any of those individual games. I think people were really impressed with Madden at first on Wii, and I remember playing it and I enjoyed it, but like there were a lot of issues with that first Wii Madden that they kind of refined and realized the limitations of the controllers as the system wore on. I do consider myself to be the world's foremost expert on Madden on the Wii, which is pretty much like, oh yeah, I have a degree in bullshit.
Don't we all?
The best sports game was Excite Truck. Best tech demo was that obstacle course thing that we talked about that I believe is what would later become a Wii Fit minigame. And the worst surprise was no Game Boy Advance and no GameCube. Now, I don't think that the no Game Boy Advance was that surprising. At this point, DS had firmly entrenched as supplanting the Game Boy Advance. But on GameCube, Super Paper Mario and I think it was Donkey Kong Barrel Blast were both announced at this E3 or around then. And they were totally absent from the show.
I thought there were some trailers.
I think there might have been some trailers on like the media kits, but like Nintendo on the show floor, they knew nothing about it. They weren't on display, and I know that people were really upset about that because from what that trailer was for Super Paper Mario, this is before people found out that it was super, super talky and a little long-winded. Super Paper Mario looked incredible. I think if you were to ask me what game I was most excited about following this E3, like, okay, yeah, you know what, Galaxy, Twilight Princess, Metroid Prime 3 all looked really good, but Super Paper Mario looked so rad. And it wasn't there at all. And then maybe we kind of found out why by the fact that it got delayed to Wii because it was originally a GameCube game.
Yep.
But that's kind of it for E3 2006. I guess, John, do you have any closing thoughts about this year in Nintendo?
I mean, just like I said before, it is a fascinating E3 to go back and watch and just see how they really did deliver on their mission statement for the Wii console in general.
And Justin?
Yeah, I want to share one more final story about the close of this E3. I was hanging out at Nintendo's booth, kind of like where the employees are at the end of the show, and Iwata was there, like signing autographs, and Miyamoto was around and stuff. And when like the final like bell rang or whatever to tell everybody to leave, there was just like so much happiness and cheer and like joy coming from Iwata and like Miyamoto and everybody else that was hanging out. Like they're basically like high-fiving and like everybody was cheering back there because they knew they just killed this show. It was a great show for Nintendo, and just to be around these guys who probably worked hard and took a huge risk to do this with the Wii and whatnot, to see them like pan out for them was awesome, an awesome thing to see.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I love when Nintendo takes a big risk and it works. It's kind of the best.
Yeah, great show overall.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of tie this into E3 2015, I hope Nintendo takes some fun big risks this year, and we get to see some really cool stuff. The three of us will be at E3, so you'll get to see our big dumb mugs, talk more about it there. We'll be doing videos, all sorts of fun stuff. You can follow all of that on this YouTube channel that you are likely on right now, Nintendo World Report TV. You can also go to NintendoWorldReport.com, where we'll have all sorts of written stuff, along with probably collections of all our videos. And you can follow us on Twitter, which you can see our own personal handles at the bottom of each of our what are these things? Name tags, something like that.
Mine's not there, so.
Oh no!
You can follow me at King Nintendo Fan on Twitter.
Yes. And you can also follow the website on Twitter at Nintendo_NWR. If you have any questions or comments about this particular thing, you can email connectivity@NintendoWorldReport.com or bug me on Twitter. I'm at nron10, NRON10. And then maybe we'll answer them or follow up on them on a future video or maybe a podcast, because the thing that you'd be emailing, connectivity@NintendoWorldReport.com, is actually our podcast that is currently going through some changes, and that should be coming back to more effect very, very soon. We also have another podcast, Radio Free Nintendo, that a lot of you might know, and the only reason why I'm going to mention it right now is that E3 2006 was the humble origins of Radio Free Nintendo. For people who don't know, I believe it was Mike Sklens and Evan Birchfield argued a bunch in the back of Dan Bloodworth's van, I think. Or something to that effect, and people thought they were really annoying and should just, instead of arguing in front of them, they should argue for the internet. And sure enough, shortly after E3 ended, then Mike and Evan recorded the very first episode of Radio Free Nintendo. And it's been almost 10 years. Next year, guys, 10 years RFN. That's pretty rad.
It's hard to believe it'd be 10 years of Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when it'll be. Thanks for the 7 to 11 of you that have watched this live, but we will be going over successive E3 years. I still don't know entirely what we're going to do for E3 07 or 08, but stay tuned to a future video on this channel with us talking about E3s following this one. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye.
Later, guys.
Bye.